Harry Phibbs joins me. Harry, good afternoon to you. A lot about the British public there, what they expect, the fury from the public as well. Just on that specific point, because this seems to fascinate me on an ongoing basis as to where this one sits, immigration. Clearly it's huge. Clearly it's massive. The optics are horrendous for the government. The numbers are there for all to see. But if you were to knock on 1,000 doors in random places around the UK, would that be the number one issue, do you sense, for most voters?
Well, I've knocked on quite a lot of doors in my time, and I think it is a important issue. I mean, maybe not quite up there with the NHS and the cost of living, but particularly with a lot of the people who voted Conservative in 2019, maybe people who voted Labour before, maybe from working class backgrounds, maybe Brexiteers, and those people, I think, particularly feel very let down because they voted for Brexit and voted Conservative because they wanted us to be an independent country and for the government to have control of what happens. And a pretty basic thing is to have control of your borders. And even though we've had Brexit, and that's meant that we have control of legal immigration, we still have these people coming in illegally, and because of the European Court of Human Rights finding it impossible, so far as we can tell, for the government to get a grip on it. So I think it's a basic duty of a government to be able to have control of the borders, and it should be absolutely clear to everybody that if you come here illegally, there should be no question you should be not be allowed to stay. We can be generous allowing in refugees. We can decide that we choose to allow a certain amount of immigration for particular reasons, but we absolutely cannot have a situation where people are able to get away with coming here illegally.
And if I've got this right, Suella Braverman's point seems to be that if you really want to solve this, you can solve this. And the reason that we don't is because, you know, certain mandarins in the civil service, whether it's the Home Office or elsewhere, either get in the way, or the entirety of the civil service machine are in the way. Too many of our politicians, perhaps including the Prime Minister himself, are sort of cut from this metropolitan elite cloth where they don't really get it. They enjoy the status quo. They rather play on the safety line of things. If they really wanted to solve this, they could, but they don't, and that's why they haven't. That seems to be the undercurrent of her point, and I think that was also clear in her resignation letter, that she set out ways of this could happen. Says she was given assurances. Those assurances were not kept, but her overarching contention is there is a way.
Yes, and I think it's to her credit, actually, in her statement that she wasn't having much in the way of a personal attack on Rishi Sunak. There was a bit more of that in her resignation letter, but here she was actually quite polite about him. She said that he had worked hard on this, was genuine about wanting to try and deal with it, and that the differences, her concerns was whether he had the right way of going about it. So it was a difference of policy. So I think that probably made her speech more effective, because I don't think it could just be dismissed as a sort of personal pique at sort of losing her job as Home Secretary. But I think probably the important thing about all this is the judges. That we talk about the Supreme Court as if it was a very revered, well-established thing. It's not really. It was set up by Tony Blair, and part of the change in the legal system is that it gives a lot of discretion to judges, a bit like in America, where rather than just following the law in a straightforward way, they've got a lot of room to interpret it in the way they like, and they can say, oh, we're going to treat these international conventions as living instruments, and we're going to reinterpret what they mean, and we're going to use our discretion as we like. And so that it really means that to prevent judges thwarting what the will of Parliament, that the law needs to be absolutely clear. And one way of doing that would be to just say, well, we're going to completely pull out of the European Convention of Human Rights, and we're going to repeal the Human Rights Act, and we're going to make it so that there's no scope for the wishes of Parliament to be thwarted. And obviously that she's balancing that approach with the pressure of time to say, look, what can we do that will be effective given the shortage of time before the next general election?
Harry, thank you for your time. Always good to speak. Harry Phibbs from Conservative Home.